All right, the day of reckoning for you two jokers. Back in March, you put together your 1 to 16 on how you felt the season would play out. There's been a couple of successes here, a couple of major fails we'll get to later, but we'll start off with the Roosters. You had them coming first. They came in second, so how do we rate that?
Oh, success.
Outstanding.
It was fairly clear though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
You didn't have to be a brain surgeon to work out that Chooks would be in the top two, so we'll take the success. But
still brilliant by us,
no
dog.
Patting ourselves in the back.
Got to claim the ones. Got to claim the victories.
Well, yeah, the Bunnies. Yeah, the Bunnies coming second. They, of course, finished third.
Oh, we're on fire.
So far, so good.
Yeah,
Again,
that was
fair
pretty
roster.
predictable. Yeah,
Fair
good
roster.
coach, fair roster. That was a pretty easy one, I reckon.
All right, so let's get a little bit shaky here. You had Broncos third. They, of course, came in at 8th.
Yeah.
That would have been me, Reedy. To be fair, I had a big rap on the Broncos.
No, I had them up there too, doggy.
And I had a rap on Seabold.
Yeah.
I still think they will be a monstrous club going forward, but for this year, that's disappointing for them.
Well, I think that shows they've underachieved.
Absolutely.
They've obviously made the 8, but I think most people had them in their top 4. 8 spots a disappointment for them, I reckon. Particularly if they go out in week 1.
Was Craig Bellamy aware that you tipped his mob to come fourth when they, in fact, finished minor premiers again?
Well, how many years in a row have we all predicted that Melbourne Storm would... This would be the year that they would drop back a peg or two.
Can I say, I reckon if you go through the tape, I actually had them up higher than 4th. I reckon you pulled them down.
I knew the arguments would start.
Well, it didn't take long, did it? It was always going to be his way. But look, I'd stand by my word. I think that there will be a year when they do drop back a peg. But when?
Yeah.
I thought it was coming 5 years ago.
Well,
And yet again, look up there, first again. Extraordinary.
Cam Smith's got another year to go, hasn't he? After he goes, although they've got a couple of good hookers at backups, Brandon Smith and a young kid named Harry Grant. Maybe we might see a slip in a couple of years, but they'll be up there again next year.
We got 4 of the top 4 in the top.
That's pretty
8,
good.
So
Hang on.
We're on fire.
You're speaking too soon.
Uh-oh.
What about this next mob?
Oh dear.
Dragons you had coming 5th. They, of course, finished way down in 15th.
Yeah.
Some people, I think even the great Buzz Rothfield wrote that they would be the premiers this year.
That's loose use of the word great with Buzz.
Yeah, he watches his show. He'll be
Good.
very, very
Hope
careful.
he hears it.
You'll be a sinner in his column next
Well,
week. Clearly, it's a disappointment.
To be fair to us, Doggy, I don't think any of us thought the Jack DeBellin case would have the impact it had, and they did lose Gareth Widdop early in the year. So there are some mitigating circumstances.
But I'm overusing DeBellin and Widdop.
Terrible year. And Mary's, I love Mary. Yeah, I think you love Mary as well. He's lucky to hold on to his job. I think he will, but he's got to start well next year or he'll be toast.
Penrith Panthers, you had them coming 6th. They, of course, finished 10th. So a bit of disappointment.
Well, we go back again. Should Anthony Griffin have been sacked? Should Ivan Cleary have come in? Based on that, you have to say that Ivan Cleary's first season has been bitterly disappointing.
Yeah.
They had a great run during the season. I think they won, was it 8 in a row, Reedy? Started poorly, didn't finish great, but you can't tell me a club like Penrith, with all their resources out there, all the money they got, all the juniors coming through, the centre of excellence, that they can cop that. That's just not good enough.
They've gone through a bit of upheaval too, haven't they? With the roster and Dallin going and, there's all sorts of rumours around Regan Campbell-Gillard.
Sex tape.
Yeah, there are a lot of issues go against them, but that's underperforming for them.
I've got some good news for you.
Yeah.
The next one you got right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mighty
Bring it
Cronulla
on.
Sutherland Sharks, you had them coming 7th.
Brilliant.
And thanks to Brisbane losing on the weekend and Cronulla beating the Tigers, that's exactly what happened.
I still think 7 for the Sharks is an underachievement. I counted the day. I think they've got 6, if not 7 State of Origin players. For Feeder, you got Gallen, you got Pryor. It goes on and on.
Graham.
Dugan, Wade Graham. They have a roster to win the competition. Is it becoming an ageing roster where they need a revamp? Are they clinging on to 2016 for a year too long? I don't know. I'm just throwing these questions out there. But to me, 7th is just a pass mark, Reedy.
I don't think they've hit they haven't got going all year, Cronulla. They're one of those sides, everyone keeps waiting for them to click into gear, and they haven't clicked into gear. I think they were pretty good last weekend against the Tigers, and they're going to give Manly a real headache this weekend, but I'm not sure they can go much further than that. If they beat Manly, I can't see them beating any of those teams in the top 4 simply because they're not consistent enough. Sean Johnson hasn't been consistent enough, I reckon that's about right for them, to be fair.
Rounding out your top 8, boys, you had the North Queensland Cowboys coming in 8th spot.
I'll cop the blame for this one.
They finished 14th.
Yeah, I think I pushed hard for them.
Yeah, but Reedy, as much as I think you're a half-wit, I can't argue with that. I mean, they've got a bloody good roster up there. They've got great facilities. They've got everything going for the North Queensland. They should be a powerhouse every year. I mean, you would have based it on, Taumalolo and Morgan being the key playmaker and the key forward. I can't bag anyone who put the Cowboys in the top 8 at the start of this year. I would have done the same thing.
I think what hurt them really was the fullback issue. They never sorted it out, did they? Barber and Valentine Holmes, and the fullback's so crucial in the modern game, and they just couldn't get that nailed down. That killed them really.
They've been a disappointing franchise. If you want to go
Difficult
back in
years.
history, back to 1995, we don't want to get bogged down in the past, but they've only had a couple of good years, really, in that entire existence.
Yeah.
And this is another failure in my eyes for the Cowboys.
Well, again, and Greeny's under pressure going into next year. I think if Paul Green doesn't get it right next year, then they'll be looking for a new coach as well. So a lot of pressure on at the Cowboys, a lot of pressure in Townsville.
Interesting, the bottom 8 now we move on to. I remember back in March, Reedy, Doggy pushing hard for Manly to be
I can see it.
inside
Obviously,
your
he's
top
got no
8.
ability.
Yeah.
You boys
I
settled
bagged
on
them, didn't
ninth. I think that you came to an arrangement in the end to keep the peace.
Yeah.
But they, in fact, finished 6th, so they've overachieved.
The great overachievers of the comp, aren't they? Let's be honest. And when I say overachieving, that's not a criticism. I'm actually giving them a rap. But how Des has got them there with a very modest roster, albeit some do argue that it's not quite as bad a roster
Got
as
some
what's
good
being
players,
made out.
yeah.
And maybe Des has pulled a couple of shifty little tricks in there to portray it as being a second string side, but in fact, there's some very good footballers there.
Oh, Trebojevic, Tapau,
Sirenin,
Cherry Evans,
Thompson,
Walker, Fanua Blake.
It's a fair team.
It's a fair team. It's a fair team. And I probably underestimated them, to be fair. And apologies to Des, I probably underestimated the genius of Des Hasler.
Now, have you blokes apologised to Ricky Stewart yet?
He's angry at the moment too.
I've
Such a
Reedy.
mild-mannered bloke
He's
normally, I
angry.
was going to say. Doesn't take much to get him angry.
Yeah.
I rang him, I said, I want to do the top 8, but Reedy didn't.
Top 2, I think you had them.
Can we rewind the tape and look at that?
10th, you had them coming, boys, and of course they came in 4th.
Great season.
I think it was our prediction was based on their defence last year, which was very loose, very shoddy. Didn't seem to have any structure, and they worked so intently during the off-season on their defence. And I think it's now the 2nd or 3rd best in the NRL. So for that, you've got to give them due credit. But I think that's what our argument was. Their defence was poor.
Another great coaching performance from Ricky.
Geez,
We
you
talked
can
about
suck
Des.
up to some coaches who are in the top 8 now.
What a great coach.
Never seen anything like
He's
it.
a contender for, he's up there for
Absolutely.
Coach of the Year, Ricky. And he's obviously got that, 3-year extension the other day. So he's done a great job there.
Now, good news again, boys.
We nailed
got
it.
the next one right. You didn't fall into the trap of the hype at Newcastle. You had them coming 11th, and that's exactly where they
Wow.
finished.
Good shout.
Disappointing season, you'd have to say.
Oh, terrible. Terribly disappointing. And obviously Nathan Brown lost his job as a result of it. A lot of expectation around the club, and they just had some catastrophic moments when they fell off the cliff, didn't they? They strung together, how many? 5, 6, 7 wins in a row at one point, and then they lose, 8 in a row or something. Just very inconsistent season. And
I was never quite taken by their roster. I wasn't as in love with their roster as a lot of other critics around town. Having said that, Reedy, you can't fit every team in the top 8. I get it, but 11th isn't good enough.
no.
They've got Clemmer up there. They've got Ponga. They've got Pearce. They've got Glasby. They've got a good roster.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they were going to win the comp, but they should be up around at 8th or 7th.
Yeah.
All right, how do you explain the next one? Reedy, this is you love this
This
club.
is my doing, yeah.
Gold Coast Titans, you had them coming 12th. I'm not sure if Doggy quite agreed with that
Oh,
one.
no, I don't think I
Of
did.
course, they
Spoon.
finished rock bottom.
Well, they were abysmal, let's be honest. And again,
Well, you had them up high. What were you thinking?
well, their roster isn't that bad. Ash Taylor, no one saw what happened with Ash Taylor this year. Garth Brennan's had a shocker, lost his job over it. And a lot of players didn't perform. Terrible performance from them. I mean,
Where
Torrey,
to from here, though, Reedy? Where do we take this franchise? I think everyone's getting a little bit tired of the Gold Coast every year, never being mentioned as being relocated, never being mentioned as being
well,
thrown
some people
out.
are saying they should be relocated
I'm just
now
saying, though, what gives them a God-given right to be in the competition when they underachieve year after year?
because Gold Coast's a big area, got a great junior base,
It's never done any good,
and they've
mate.
got rich owners.
You had the West Tigers finishing 13th, fellas. They, of course, came in 9th, almost made the finals. Almost is a word associated a lot with the West Tigers.
A bit over the Tigers. You know what? It's the 6th time now they've come ninth.
Yeah.
The third time they've had to go to Leichhardt in the last round to win, to secure a spot, and failed. I think Madge is a good move to bring him in, but I think Madge is now realising that he is trying to change a culture where near enough is good enough.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, again, it's not good enough.
Well, he made it clear after the game, didn't he, Doggy, that they need to start thinking about winning grand finals, not just being in competition to make the 8. They need to start thinking about winning premierships, and that mentality needs to change in that club. And I think we saw a soft mentality again on the weekend. In a game they needed to win to make the finals, they just went AWOL in the second half. 6-minute period, let their concentration lapse, got blown away. So I think Madge has done a great job this year with that squad and that side, but he's made it pretty clear that the mentality needs to change at that place, or players will be out the door.
We move on to the Warriors. You had them coming 14th. They, of course, came in 13th.
Oh, that's not bad.
So, yeah,
again,
not bad.
underachievers, got a whole country to themselves. And
Not talking about them. Over them totally every year. Disappointing.
And again, another coach is going to start next year under immense pressure, Steve Kearney. Needs to, and you know what? I can't see them getting much better next year. Their rosters, I don't think they've signed anyone of note. They're in massive trouble again.
Feeble franchise of my eyes. I know it sounds horrible, but it's true.
What do you want them out of the comp?
You know what?
You'll have a 16 comp
No,
soon.
I don't. But would the comp be any less if the Warriors weren't there and a second Brisbane team come in?
Now, here's the big one.
Oh, wow.
The Parramatta Eels. Brad Arthur, I hope you're listening to this. These two Pelicans over here had your team coming 15th.
15th.
They've come in 5th and a fair chance of doing something in the final series.
Oh, good on them. How could you not? They ran last year, didn't?
Yeah.
If Convetti overlooked that, how could you possibly look at Parramatta last year and go, they'll jump 10 places? It was just, it's been a wonderful effort. But I can see where we were coming from and putting them down the bottom there. They were terrible last year.
Yeah, they've unearthed, well, they brought in some players who've had more impact than we thought, but they've unearthed a couple of guys who've been magnificent. Mike Acevo and Dylan Brown, been fantastic for them. Mitchell Moses just turned his career around this year. And obviously, Brad's done a great job. Again, another bloke who's in, look at that, Raiders, Eels, Manly, all those blokes are in contention for Coach of the Year. Great performance from Brad, great performance from that club.
The Dogs wrong as well, but I've got to say, after about 14 rounds, this prediction was looking
It was looking good,
pretty
wasn't it? Well,
about 3 wins at that stage.
we didn't count on the Gold Coast. What a bunch of
No, we
gibberish
didn't
they are.
realise how bad they were going to be, but the Dogs didn't finish 16th. They finished a creditable 12th.
I think they were one win outside of the top 8 in the end.
Well, he did a good job, Dean Pate.
7 of their last 10 games they won.
Yeah.
That's a great finish to a season.
Yeah.
And that really gives them a push along for next year. I still think they need a marquee player, though. They need a big kill.
Yeah.
They need a Latrell Mitchell, someone of that ilk to really take him to the next level. They've done well, Reedy, but I can't see next year, unless they pull in someone big, which is unlikely now, that they can suddenly become the top 4 contender.
They've signed Joe Stimson, I think. They need a hooker. They haven't signed a hooker yet. They're obviously in for Api Coruscant. They need a hooker badly, I reckon. And they probably need a strike centre. They're in for Ramian. Didn't get him either by the looks of it. So there are still a couple of players short of being a top 8 side for me. But Dean Pay, for a coach who was under immense pressure midway through the year, did a great job.